Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Our opening words this morning are from John Saxon. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in silence and through the noise and busyness of our daily lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day and the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, for it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and to me. It's calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater service, greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to beauty. It's calling us to laugh and to dance and to sing. It's calling us to live through life's pain and sorrow. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak with our truth in love, and to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It's calling us into community. It's calling us to a greater life of all. Listen. Can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. Our child sliding words this morning are from Eric Walker Wickstrom. Here today in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. We are very fortunate to have with us today our speaker. Erin Tangen has been the Great Dot coordinator for about 4 years, and she's also the mother of 2 children. She is here today to discuss the power-based violence and how we can each take action and to intervene in this serious and pervasive issue in our community. Please welcome Erin.
Okay. Thank you for letting me come in and talk to you guys about this important initiative. We're implementing this in the community. I've been with Green Dot for 4 years. We actually started this program in 2018, 19, and then COVID happened. So it all went to virtual learning online. And then afterwards, I shouldn't say now, but we had to go back in person. So I feel like that's a better opportunity than online. So I just want to take a few minutes to connect you all with Green Dot. It's a bystander intervention initiative that focuses on reducing the number of people in our community who experience sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and child abuse. And what we're doing is we're mobilizing our community members as active bystanders. So that might sound scary, but throughout today, I'm going to tell you about how you guys can become active bystanders without changing anything about the way you are today. So sometimes you might go into some sort of intervention and you think, oh, I've got to be outgoing, or I've got to be an extrovert and direct and all of these things. But we're going to teach, this is something to give tools in your toolbox for everyone. So if you're shy, if you don't like confrontation, if you don't want anything, we're going to go through those steps. So when I say it right now, I don't want you to think, oh, that's not for me. I'm going to help you with that. So we're here today because we know too many people have experienced sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse, and stalking. That includes our friends, neighbors, colleagues, and family members. So we need to do something about it, right? In our community, it's way too prevalent that we have child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. And you're influential community members, and you can play an important dual role in our community. So not only as bystanders who could potentially intervene, but also as reinforcers of the culture and norms we want to create. So we want to create a space where other people in our community feel comfortable intervening when they have the opportunity. And just by reinforcing, maybe with a head nod or a, maybe saying afterwards, like, that's a good job you did. Just reinforcing that we are seeing when people are doing these things. So to best explain how sexual assault, bless you, domestic violence, child abuse, and stalking can be prevented through small but impactful behaviors, I'd like to introduce you to a small metaphor. So I want you to visualize an image of our community. It should be a couple slides in. Well, in your head, visualize an image of your community as you go through your daily routine. So even on your way here today, think about the buildings that you're driving by, the coffee shops, the Capitol or schools or stores, restaurants. And I want you to visualize, think of the place, the parks, trails, all of these types of things. So you have this image of your community, right? And I want you to imagine that every time someone makes a single choice to use their words or actions to hurt somebody, a red dot appears. So think of one, we have the image of our community. One red dot is the moment it takes to hit someone. One red dot is a caregiver crossing a line with disciplining a child. One red dot is a single choice to have sex with someone without their consent. One red dot is when someone takes the time to use his or her words to humiliate, threaten, or coerce someone. One red dot is the choice that someone makes to show up unwanted outside someone's work, home, or car. So that's our community, and we have the red dots. So enough of these have added up to create a culture that allows unacceptable rates of sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse, and stalking. I know we've all heard of North Dakota Nice. A lot of times that we don't want to intervene or talk to if somebody is in the middle of something, or we just think, oh, that's not our business. So I want you to think back to that image that has the red dots. And if red dots are the problem, green dots are going to be the solution. So a green dot is a simple action that someone can take to stop a red dot from happening. Examples of reactive green dots are just checking in with someone. If they're in a new relationship and you're not seeing them anymore, or you're kind of worried about it, just checking in. That's a simple thing to do as a green dot. Letting someone know that you're concerned. Just saying, I haven't seen you. I just want to see how things are going. And then connecting them with resources. If you do know someone and you may suspect that something's happening, you're not sure, you can even just do something as simple as, here is the number to the Abused Adult Resource Center, or here's a number to the Dakota Children's Advocacy Center. Letting them know they're not alone. Simply talking to someone and just letting them know you're not alone. I believe you. I understand. I hear you. And just, you don't have to have similar experiences, but just letting them know you're there for them, not having them justify or rationalize, but just saying, I'm here. And then offering support. So the goal is simple. When we have more green dots than red dots, we can shift the culture, and rates of sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and child abuse can be reduced. So our program is based on 4 steps for bystander intervention. Step 1, we need to recognize the problem. The rates of this power-based violence are too high in our communities. We know that. We have recognized the problems. The interesting part that's next is identifying barriers. Now that's identifying our barriers. And sometimes in these trainings, I'm surprised by afterwards that when we discuss our barriers, that people don't really realize that you have these barriers until you're discussing them and actually looking at them. After we've identified our barriers, then we're going to learn how to intervene. And intervening might sound scary because you're thinking, I don't want to get hurt, I don't want to be in a dangerous situation. That's not the type of intervening that we're talking about. We want to intervene before the problem reaches an escalated state. So we don't want anyone to put their safety at risk. We don't want them getting harmed. Purpose of our program is to equip community members with the tools so that we can see the beginning of this interaction and prevent it from getting to the escalated height that it does. So then the 4th step will be strengthen our positive community norms. And what that means is after we've recognized the problem, we've identified our own barriers in these situations, now we've learned how to intervene in a safe manner, And then other community members start to recognize this and see that this is happening in our community. And then other people feel safer to intervene and be an active bystander by seeing others do it. So a community effect. I'm going to give you a little, so think of Facebook, right? When Facebook came about, did everyone just jump on and say, oh yeah, this is a great thing? They didn't. So one guy in his dorm, or a couple guys at their dorm, decided to start Facebook. So a couple people started. And is that enough, do you think, to change the community and what they think about social media? It isn't, right? So they tell a couple people and a couple more people. So now a couple hundred people are using this platform. Is that enough to change a community norm that everybody is using this platform? It isn't, right? So then those people tell their friends and their family and then their friends and then their family. And eventually, when we get a substantial number of people that know about this and are now using it, now Facebook has become widely known, right? And not everybody, but a vast majority of people are using it. So I want you to think of this concept when you're thinking about Green Dot as well. So we started this program. It's a very strict program to start. You have to go through certain steps. You have to identify community members that are influencers. You have to train them before you can even bring it out to the community. And that is so that we can have the same effect. So that now we have people like you that are going to go to learn about this training, and then you're going to go out in the community and you're going to talk about Green Dot and you're going to tell somebody about Green Dot. And then eventually we can be as big as Facebook. Ideally. So you can see how just an individual can help bring this program and help change our community norms by just talking about it. So, and we don't know at what point how many members it took for Facebook to become, nationally recognized and as popular as it is. We don't know what that is. So we just want to just keep doing these things, keep getting community members in the know and having us all out there. The other neat thing about this is now that we've done a training at training for you here today, we give you a little window cling that'll say, we support Bismarck Green Dot. And as more and more of the community members know about this program, then not only does it say, oh, this is a safe environment, they know about, Green Dot and intervening, it might also let the person know that's doing the harm know that, okay, these guys know about this, my behavior isn't accepted here. So it does a lot of different things just by being a place that knows about Green Dot and intervention. So while it's important to consider different examples of what the problem looks like, it's equally important to know that it can be hard to do green dots when we see a red dot, even when you want to. So this is true for everyone. We're not morally defective because we see something happening and we don't step in. That's a natural response. So people don't intervene because of barriers. So some barriers are personal barriers. For instance, you're introverted. You are so shy that it just is beyond your scope that you want to intervene. Afraid of physical escalation or retaliation. I think that's a legitimate fear. Uncertainty. You're just not sure. Is it the situation? Is it really what I'm looking at? Is it, or maybe I'm misinterpreting it, or did I see that right? So we're second guessing ourselves. Our social identities, or not wanting to make a scene or embarrass ourselves. Then there's relationship or social barriers. For instance, when you think about these situations of domestic violence, stalking, child abuse, and sexual assault, a lot of the times you're going to know one of the people involved or maybe both. And that makes it difficult. So a relationship might be one of your social barriers. You don't want to be that person in your family or in your friend group to be the squeaky wheel or the one that, oh, she's just always worried or he's just always worried about everything. You don't want it. So your relationship or social barriers. You don't want to break an unspoken rule in your friend group. You don't want to be perceived as a snitch or having a bias or feeling uncomfortable confronting a friend or family member. So there was an instance where we were at an event. I'm from Minnesota, so we do it's a ruffed grouse banquet. It's kind of like Ducks Unlimited, but you go. It's typically you bring it's your parents and you bring your family members and you go and there's hors d'oeuvres and you put tickets and stuff so you can win it. And then there's a banquet. And then in the middle, there is some downtime. And so this happened to take place in a school. So in this downtime, we're in the gym and kids are playing and parents are standing, on the sides or whatever. And I've noticed this one little boy, there were two boys and a dad playing, and one of the boys accidentally threw a ball and hit the dad. And the dad was really, to the point where he grabbed the kid by the shirt, twisted it, and like pushed him against the wall. And it was a long time ago, and I just thought, what is happening? Like that's child abuse. What, why you can't do that? This is a public place. What is going on? But nobody else around me reacted. Nobody else around me even, batted an eye, or maybe they didn't see it or whatever. So now I'm starting to second guess myself. Like, was that as bad as I think? Or maybe I overreacted. And I didn't say anything. And so for quite a while afterwards, I was, I was kind of upset with myself because I was like, oh, I should have said, why didn't I say something? And that poor kid, and he didn't have any allies, But in that moment, it becomes almost like a group think, because I saw it, I'm reacting, but nobody else is. So I can't be right. It has to not be. And that's where we want to identify those barriers. And even after today, we're not going to do this 100% of the time. I'm going to equip you with some tools that you're going to feel way more confident intervening when you see things in public, but we're not going to be perfect. We're humans. So no matter what your barriers are, I want you guys to know they're not going to disappear today. I'm not going to say, okay, to intervene, everybody needs to become an extrovert and want to confront everybody, and then you guys are all going to change and be that way. That's not how it works. Sadly, I think that's a lot of ways trainings have been done in the past, but this one is great because it meets you where you are. When you leave here today, you're going to have the exact same barriers that you had walking in this door. But it's just important to recognize that when you know what your barriers are, we don't want you to say, oh, you know what? I'm shy, I'm an introvert. I'm not going to intervene. Instead, we want you to be like, oh, wait, I am shy, I don't want to intervene, but I got this tool in my tool belt and I can use this. So we're going to learn about these. So a key to increasing how often you're able to intervene is having lots and lots of options to choose from. So to help you identify green dot options that are realistic, that you would do, we want you to consider the 3 Ds. And this is like, when I first started, I've always had a passion that I wanted to help all children that were victims of abuse. So my thought was, okay, I'm just going to build a big, giant house, just this huge house with bedrooms and kitchens and sectioned off. And if parents don't want to have their kids, they just drop them off with me. And then I'll take them in this huge house, because that seems like a realistic goal, right? Yeah. And ask me how far I got started on that. I have not. So then you don't, because you have these big ideas and you think it needs to be these huge things. And then it's often, that's a roadblock because you can't get it started. So these are nice and easy things that we can do. So the 3 Ds, the first one is direct. This is to do something yourself. So let's say that I am in a Target and I see a caregiver being pretty aggressive with a child, to the point where, the caregiver is upset. She's yanking on the child a little bit, picking him up by an arm. And, you don't want it to escalate any further. I'm a direct person, but being direct, it does not mean that you have to walk up to the person and be like, hey, do you really need to yank an arm like that? It doesn't need to be like that. Being direct can be, I'm walking over and being like, oh my goodness, I see that you guys are having a rough day. How about I play with them and you go get your shopping done quick? We'll stay right here. Or just, walking over and saying, aren't toddlers hard? Or whatever the age group may be. And then what's happening is you're diffusing in that moment. You're stopping the aggressive behavior that is going to continue with that adult just by going over and saying something. It doesn't have to be attacking what they're doing, but it can just be directly going over and saying, hey, do you want me to help? I can play with them. You get your stuff done. We'll stay right here. Not that they'll go far. Again, taking other people's kids, but just an example is if you're walking over and you're diffusing it in that moment. So next we will, okay, so we have direct. This is when you're going over and doing it yourself. Then there's delegate. So same scenario. We're in a Target. We see a caregiver and a child. You know that it's going to keep escalating from where it is, and what you're seeing you're not liking, but you don't want to walk over there. We're going to delegate instead. We're going to ask someone else to get involved. So now we're going to go find a manager and we're going to say, hey, can you just watch what's going on over in the shampoo aisle? I think that, it could be something that is a little dangerous for the child involved. Then you have done something, you've let somebody else know, you've delegated to somebody else. You can ask friends to, if it's a situation where you have a couple that you're worried about domestic violence, instead of maybe going right to them, you could go to a mutual friend and say, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about she has bruises or he has bruises and he's starting to wear, long sleeves, or she's wearing turtlenecks and you can see bruising underneath. You're talking to the friend or the family member and sharing your concern with them, and then maybe they'll go to talk to them. But you are expressing your concern, just not doing it directly. Then the last one is, you can make this one a fun one. So we've done direct, we've done delegate, and now distract. So distracting, you can diffuse a situation or calm things down in a moment by creating a diversion. So let's say, for example, you are at a bar or restaurant, and there is a couple at a table and they're starting to really argue. You can see that they're, getting a little physical with each other. Rather than going over and saying anything, you're walking by and you trip over their table leg. You do, oh my gosh, I'm such a klutz. I do this all the time. This is the third time I've tripped today. So it may not be directly getting involved in what's happening between them, but by distracting them, you're diffusing that situation. You're diffusing it from escalating. You can go over and ask, if it's at a, let's say a later at night, or even walking over and just say, oh my gosh, my cell phone died and I really got to call my babysitter. Can I borrow your cell phone? Or anything that you can think of to distract in that moment. Going back to the situation with the caregiver at Target, rather than going over and saying anything, can be you go over and, oh my goodness, where did you get those sparkly shoes? Did I make those sparkly shoes in my size? So again, you're not, and that's something I've actually done. And you're not putting yourself you don't have to put yourself in the middle of what's happening. You can do these things without addressing the situation at hand. So many parents, so many people, and as a parent myself, I would not welcome somebody coming over and being like, hey, watch how you're handling your child. That gets people defensive. We don't want to escalate anything from there. And we don't want them, we don't want to anger them, right? So using these tactics by being direct doesn't have to, again, address what's happening. You can directly address a child or the kid or the mom and just saying, oh my goodness, it's been a long winter. Or, delegating, like I said, you can talk to a manager. You can talk to even a trusted mentor or a faith leader or a leader in your community. And then distracting, you can do, there's so many things. If you're in a parking lot and you see people starting to fight, turn on your car alarm, start your car alarm. Yell tiger was what somebody said. I mean, which would be good. You would diffuse that situation. They'd be really confused, but you diffuse it from escalating beyond that point. And yell tiger. Yes. Or, I mean, even there's examples I've gotten through trainings, like somebody said they would just start go over by them and start barking like a dog, like anything that diffuses that situation. And that is a distract. So, going back to thinking the way that I was going to prevent child abuse, right? Everybody's just going to bring their kids to me and we're going to all live in this place. And these are things that are easily adaptable. And again, just because they're easily adaptable doesn't mean we're going to do them 100% of the time. We're still human. So there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to how you intervene. You don't get more points for being direct or, less points for using a distract. But the point is that we do something. And you want to do something that you're most comfortable with, that will that decreases the likelihood that someone experiences harm. So if you are an introvert, don't be thinking to yourself, oh, I've got to use a direct approach. Oh, I've got to use a direct approach. No, you don't have to fight. Just wherever you are at, use the barriers that work best, or use the technique that works best with your barriers. So what we've talked about now are reactive green dots. So these are the green dots that we're going to do after the red dots have already started, after they've already happened. Now we're going to talk about proactive green dots. And so proactive green dots are things that we can do to, let me back up. So go back to that image in your head about our community. And we have all the red dots, and then we have the green dots that have reacted to those red dots. Well, it leaves us with a whole lot of community that's empty, that can have that even has the opportunity for more red dots to appear. So what we want to do is we want to fill in those empty spaces with proactive green dots. Now, these are things that we can do before anything happens. So by using these proactive green dots, we're also going to reset our community norms to make it clear that sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and child abuse are not accepted in our community. So if all the spaces in our community we have the red dots, the reactive green dots, and now we fill them in with the proactive green dots, there now is not any room in our community for more red dots to happen. Does that make sense? So some of the green dots that we can do are post a link on social media to a bystander intervention story that you found. So if you have Facebook, Instagram, wherever, for example, there was a barista at Starbucks, and an older gentleman and a younger girl came into Starbucks, and the girl looked scared and something was off. So the barista, instead of writing her name on her cup, wrote, "If you're in danger, take the lid off your cup." So the girl sat down, took the lid off her cup. The barista called 911. The police came, and she was a victim of human trafficking. So taking that story and sharing it on your Facebook page is a proactive green dot. You're showing people, like, this is important to me, and this is something that we should be doing, we should be watching out for in our community. If you want to by bringing a workshop or training to your place of work or worship, having a green dot, bringing it, to staff meetings, or your place where you have fellowship, that is a proactive green dot. Have a conversation or text exchange with your friends after today and say, have you guys heard about Green Dot? It's this intervention program. It's really easy. That's a proactive green dot. You're going out there and you're filling those empty spaces with proactive green dots, letting people know that we can prevent this power-based violence in our communities. We can reduce the occurrence. Retell a green dot story you heard about a person who intervened. Retelling stories are great. There is a YouTube video. The guy's called the Chip Man. And he's on a subway, and this male and female are fighting. I'm talking fist fighting. They're throwing punches, they're kicking each other, and this guy, on his way to work, he's got his books or whatever here, he's got a bag of chips, and he's eating his chips, and he just keeps moving to stand in between them. Doesn't say a word, doesn't say anything, but he stays in between the guy and the woman so that they can't hit each other. And then at the next stop, the others are able to get one of them off the subway. So he just did a green dot by not even speaking. And it's fantastic. You can have a poster or brochure or flyer about resources or prevention tips in your workspace. We have pamphlets, green dot pamphlets. Jada has them right there. So if you want any of those, put those up. If you have them on your bulletin board at work, people will be like, what is that? Just telling them what that pamphlet is and about Green Dot is doing a proactive Green Dot. Wearing a pin. I brought pins. We have bracelets. We have pens. I even brought some jar openers that are green dots. And just to start conversations, because the more we talk about it, again, the more we're preventing these red dots from filling in the spaces in our community. Keep one on your fridge. Put a green dot pin or the pamphlet on your fridge. And when people come to your house, tell them about Green Dot. Let them know, like, hey, this is pretty cool. You can describe to them the 3Ds, and that's an actionable thing. They can go out in the community and start doing green dots from that moment on. When you do see someone do a green dot, smile or nod at them and say, that was a good thing you did. This happened to me. I was parked on the side of the street because I did pull over to send a text message. That was pretty good. And there was something happening with two people on the side of the street. And I was about to get up, but a gentleman came. I don't know where he came from, but all of a sudden he came and he dispersed the situation. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to go. And then I just stopped and I was like, you know what? Good job. You know, like, I really appreciate that you did that. I was going to, but the more and more we do that, then the more and more we know that it's okay for us to do this. We don't have to ignore situations. North Dakota Nice is great, but not always. We don't have, that's not my business. Sometimes we do have to, it has to be our business. Create a dinner table discussion or a discussion in your break room at work. Add a green dot statement to your personal email signature line. So our signature, the green dot line is no one has to do everything, but everyone has to do something. And if you put something like that as your signature line, when you're sending emails, people are reading this and you might not get a response right away, but it's in the back of their head, like, oh, it might get the question like, what does your signature line mean? Or, what are you talking about with that? Whatever, you're getting it out there, showing that these things matter to you. So the list of proactive green dots, you should clearly answer one important question. If a new person came into your community through your friend group, workplace, faith community, or family, how would they know that you don't tolerate violence and that you expect everyone to do their part? So when you can answer that question with a specific list, that's when you're helping to set new norms. So I want to just share out a couple things that you think that you could do as a proactive green dot after today. Does anyone have anything that they could do as a proactive green dot? Yes, a window cling on your car. Anybody else? Share with one person. Tell one, like our Facebook page. If you go on and find Bismarck Green Dot on Facebook, liking our Facebook page is a green dot because now your friends have the opportunity to see what Green Dot posts just by you liking the post. Share a Green Dot post of Green Dot or from our Facebook page. And so we do different types of Green Dot trainings. So the Green Dot training that we're doing today is a training that we would bring to staff meetings or, like you said, like a fellowship, or just any time that you have about half an hour that you want to get the message across. We have done these trainings at a couple restaurants. We did them at Laughing Sun. And just to give you an idea, once talking to people at Laughing Sun, they were like, this has given me the opportunity, like when we have an issue, we just go get the big guy in the back. And what you're doing in that is, now you might even be escalating the situation because it's not just somebody addressing it. Now you're getting the big guy and it's going to be rough and, like you stop these things and whatnot. It gives you these are giving people the opportunity to do things without having to get the big guy. We can do them. Anybody can do them. Little small kids, even my son does. Even my 11-year-old does green dots. So it's important to realize that it doesn't have to be a certain person. It doesn't have to be a certain intervention. You can do what's comfortable to you. The other thing I want people to think about is when I give examples of barriers that people might have, I like people to explore, think about, we talked about the couple at the restaurant fighting. Now, we didn't give genders, we didn't give anything when we're simply talking about the couple. So I want you to think about what would happen. Would your barriers be different if the couple was a different race? If it was a Black couple, if it was two females, if it's two males, would you have different barriers based on who the people are that you're addressing the issue with? And that's something important to remember. It's also something important to practice and think about when you're thinking about barriers and green dots that you want to become comfortable doing. If you are and you don't have to do the same barrier every time. There might be one time where you're feeling like you are direct and you can approach the situation. There might be another time when you're going to delegate. There might be another time when you're going to distract. It doesn't always have to be the same way, the same intervention each time. So know that you can have a wide variety. And again, like I said, we are not going to be 100% after this. We're not going to all do it at 100% of the time. Doesn't make us morally defective. It just makes us human. But the fact that we're thinking about it and that we may do it the next time, that's what's going to decrease these numbers in our community, where we're going to see a substantial decrease in sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and child abuse.
It's a quick question. Is this a program that is like nationwide? Is it?
Great question. Yes. So it originally started in Alaska. And once they implemented their program, they saw 17% reduction in the power-based violence in their communities. We have the Bismarck community. There also is, or not Bismarck, Green Dot community. There's also Green Dot High School. There's Green Dot Middle School, and there's also Green Dot College. So Valley City has the community and college program. Grand Forks has the community and college program. And there are, I mean, it is nationwide, but just locally, those are the programs that we have. I would love to see this program be in the high schools, especially with the use of social media and normalizing of stalking amongst teenagers. But again, that would take, somebody from the schools would start that, and then that would be something that they would implement there. But yeah, it's nationwide, and we have quite a few. They started a program now in Dickinson as well. So, yeah. So we don't, just like with social media, just like the Facebook example that I gave you, right? We don't know how many green dots it's going to take to shift our community norms, like Facebook did. But between reactive green dots, the 3Ds, and proactive green dots, no matter who you are or what role you play in our community, there are ways that you can be a part of it. The important thing is not necessarily what you do, but that you do something. So be realistic about what you will and will not do. Be realistic. If I'm never going to be direct, that's fine. Say I'm never, that's not going to be a choice for me. But do spend some time thinking about options that you can see yourself doing. Our green dot choices can add up to something bigger. And the goal is simply to ensure that the number of people being hurt by sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and child abuse in our community comes down. So again, if you guys need more information, so what we do is we have a training like this that's 30 minutes, but we also do, we do 3-hour bystander trainings, which now you're practicing, and we're doing a lot more activities. And by the time you're leaving, like you've practiced what you're going to do. You've learned, you've talked to others in the group, you've seen you've heard what others are going to do. So 3 hours sounds like a really long time, but it really gives you the opportunity to feel comfortable with it, and to get to know the people around you and understand you're going to have all kinds of different personalities at your table, and you're going to learn all the different ways where you can make a difference. So it goes by really fast. And it just, you just feel more comfortable afterwards. So we do have one of those coming up on October 24th. If you have anyone, if you guys, how we do this is, if you want to set up a 3-hour bystander training, as long as you have 12 or more people, we can set it up anywhere, and you send us the dates that work for you, and then we'll come and do the training on the time and the date that you need. And we can do from anywhere from 12 to 35 people. So any way that you guys can help spread the word of Green Dot, we are so appreciative, and we'll take anything that we can get.
We extinguish the chalice with these closing words by Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together because of our better selves.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. You are want the world to know. We won't let hatred grow. Put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide this will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place. And the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait.